Win the incredible Steigercraft 21DB Miami, powered by a Yamaha 200, in the ultimate season-long multiple-species subscriber-only fishing competition, the Fisherman's 2017 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Go to thefisherman.com and enter today. The fishing news is brought to you by Okuma and the Reel Seat at 707 Union Avenue in Brielle. Gear up for July fluking with Reel Seat fluke rigs, Nantucket deepwater teasers, leaders, bucktails, jig heads, rods, and reels. A proud sponsor of the Point Pleasant Elks Fluke Tournament.
With the Fisherman Magazine's New Jersey Delaware Bay Coastal Report for this final weekend of July 2017, I'm Jim Hutchinson, and unless you've been offshore for the last 5 days straight, you've no doubt heard the news of that monster shark weighed in over the weekend at Hoffman's Marina on the Manasquan River. 926 pounds for the crew of Jenny Lee Sport Fishing, a tandem effort with their charter. They teamed up and battled the largest shark caught on rod and reel in New Jersey history. Again, they passed the rod along, so while it might not be considered a New Jersey state record, at 926 pounds, it's an amazing catch. And I would remind you that mako sharks in the North Atlantic, by the way, are sustainable. They're not overfished, and no overfishing is occurring, despite what you may have heard from some of your friends who may watch The View or some other silly program. 926 pounds. That is truly one heck of a catch. Regrettably, a lot of hateful and nasty things are being passed along throughout the blogosphere, but kudos to New Jersey anglers especially for coming to the defense of the Jenny Lee, Captain Dave, and Captain Kevin. Of course, when you pick on somebody from New Jersey, you know what happens. So anyway, so as not to offend the fish huggers that may be watching these types of videos, for now on, no more fish pics. We're only going to concentrate on kittens and puppies here in our reports. I kid. No cuddly critters here. I'm in Waretown at Creekside Outfitters, which they had their own big news this week. This immense 12-pound doormat fluke. It was caught by Josh Rice. He was out over the weekend, Barnegat Bay, with an S&S Bucktails, the S&S Bucktails Rattletail, which is why a lot of folks have been in the shop grabbing a hold of those S&S Rattletails. Now, I'm hearing from a lot of friends throughout this region down here in Waretown along Barnegat Bay that the fluke bite on Barnegat Bay is simply tremendous. In fact, Captain Alex Majewski of Lighthouse Sport Fishing, he told me, quote, the fluke bite in Barnegat Bay is about as good as it gets. So, folks, if you're looking for a good bit of action, I'm down in Little Lake Harbor. Little Lake Harbor hasn't been the same. Great Bay is decent. Barnegat Bay is terrific. Stop in, see Liza and the crew here at Creekside. They're right off of exit 69 on the Parkway, down on Wells Mills Road here on Route 9. She's got a bunch of charters here that can help you out as well. I know Joe Rizzo's running charters. Liza has names here. Real Reaction, Moles, Salty Lady, Obsession, Mark IV, just to name a few. So stop in here. Also, a little bit farther to the south, we're finding out still that Back Bay bite, not just Barnegat Bay, but farther south, like behind Brigantine. Still pretty active. Anthony Fleming checked in with us to say that he found the fluke and the weak fish behind Brigantine this past weekend. You go farther south into Cape May, we're finding out good, not great, throughout June and July. That's the word from the crew of the Miss Chris. They've been getting out. Ostensibly, they're getting out on some of the offshore deeper grounds, although the Miss Chris also, or the Miss Chris folks did say, quote, overall, it's improved over 2016. And that's what we're hearing throughout the state, is even though it's picky at some times, that the bite is definitely better this year. If you're heading out of Cape May County, some of the South Jersey reefs and wrecks might produce. If you're in Delaware, the old grounds, the Delaware reef sites. Of course, you can always go to sites like the Cape May and Wildwood Reef. When we go farther north, we're still waiting for that Raritan Bay doormat fishery to really start kicking off. If you look in the reports this week, we do have a couple of certifiable trophies, 10 pounds or more, in this week's reports. And Phil at the tackle box, he says that Paul Thompson checked in. He had some good action out at the Shrewsbury Rocks, where bucktails and gulp definitely did the trick. Now, on the fluke politics side, Congressman Frank Pallone, Senator Bob Menendez, they were in Atlantic Highlands this past Friday talking with a few of the party boat captains and tackle shop folks. Congressman Pallone, of course, always pushed flexibility in our federal fisheries law during his time on the Resources Committee in Washington. Senator Menendez has yet to really get involved in the congressional fight for fisheries reform, but it's never too late, right? These members of Congress saw firsthand the light fares on these Friday half-day trips on the Raritan, and folks were asking these legislators to get on board support H.R. 2023 and Senate Bill 1520, the Modern Fish Act, which could help with fluke and sea bass in the future. I would encourage you to call your congressman and ask for that support, and remind Senator Menendez here that, hey, that rod and reel you were looking at Fisherman's Den North, we need flexibility if you're going to be able to use that next year. Now, in addition to the 1 tog and 2 sea bass limit that we have on some of these wreck sites in New Jersey, triggerfish and porgy are also pretty abundant on some of our local snags. In fact, Ralph Layer of the Last Lady out of Shark River, he said, quote, "Best day I have seen in many, many years for triggerfish." In fact, earlier in the week when he was out, he was back at the dock by 11:30 a.m. with over 50 triggers and a whole mess of porgies. Now, if you want to focus on some of those triggers, either at the jetties, along the back bulkheads, or at those local snags, definitely go with the lighter hooks, smaller scale hooks, and don't discount those sea robins. I know, you must think I'm crazy, but folks, you got to check out our August edition of the Fisherman magazine. It just went to print earlier this week, and Toby Lipinski has a great article along with a video accompaniment on cleaning up those sea robins. Really make a tasty, tasty treasure. Not trash, we're talking treasure. Also in that August edition of the Fisherman magazine is a great big eye article by Captain Freddie Gamboa. Sand crabs in the surf for stripers in the summertime by our Delaware reporter Eric Burnley, and of course plenty of dreamboat info. You come to a certified weigh station like Creekside Outfitters, for example, bring in those giant fish, make sure you get them weighed in. We finally got a yellowfin on the board just recently for New Jersey's John Ostrowski. He had a 50.4-pound yellowfin. It could get him a set of Costa sunglasses and a Dexter Russell knife, because it's the fish of the month, and we are rapidly ending up that fish of the month for July. Busy few days offshore this coming weekend, of course, as the White Marlin Invitational goes off. The captain's meeting was this past Tuesday. A lot of friends getting together for that big event, and they're sailing all the way through Saturday. A couple of nice windows of opportunity to get offshore this week. We will have the full rundown on how that tournament went down with Tom Pagliaroli and our offshore report in next week's edition. Also, don't forget, look in that August edition, in addition to the reports and the tackle and all the how-to and where-to articles. If you're in the market for a new truck, whether it's trailering your boat or getting out on the beach, Lester Glenn has a unique ad in there, $1,000 off to you fishermen. $1,000 off that new truck purchase, and it's only for fishermen, exclusively for Fisherman subscribers. Now look, I hate to be rude, but with the bite in Barnegat Bay right now and the fluke out there, I'm going to pick up a couple of bucktails. I'm going to have to leave you. Catch them up, my friends, and as always, until next week, we'll see you right here at thefisherman.com.
Win the incredible Steigercraft 21DB Miami, powered by a Yamaha 200, in the ultimate season-long multiple-species subscriber-only fishing competition, the Fisherman's 2017 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Go to thefisherman.com and enter today. The Fishing News is brought to you by Okuma and the Reel Seat at 707 Union Avenue in Brielle. Gear up for July fluking with Reel Seat fluke rigs, Nantucket deepwater teasers, leaders, bucktails, jig heads, rods, and reels. A proud sponsor of the Point Pleasant Elks Fluke Tournament.